RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. You're going to follow me on Twitter. And it's Tuesday, January 21st, and we'll be taking a look at the 5-game NBA DFS slate tonight on DraftKings. So hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. Since it's Tuesdays with Tim Buell, who does a ton of our all different sports here at RotoGrinders, which includes hockey. Right, Tuesday's a big hockey day, so join the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Get in that NHL channel. They will absolutely update you with everything you'll ever need for NHL. So that's Tim, that's Dane, that's all the guys in there. But we're talking basketball. We're talking basketball. I know yesterday we had there's some people like you wake up and go, why are there basketball games in the afternoon? Because it was MLK Day, so big basketball game day yesterday. But tonight, kind of lowish totals from what I mean. There's some games that have a little bit higher totals, but yeah. As I always like to start with the injury list, we have a pretty seems it for a 5-game slate. This seems like an extensive Q tag list. Can we go into is this or this not a fake AD Q tag? And then also we need to look at the 76ers. Are the 76ers going to just from what I could tell, because I don't play NBA DFS often, is that the 76ers have sometimes run out these lineups where the entire starting lineup is a bunch of creative players. Does it seem like that's going to happen tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in terms of, overall team kind of like questionables, like what's the most important team to be watching out for in terms of injuries, it is unquestionably the 76ers. We've got Paul George, we've got Yabusele, we've got Drummond, all questionable. We already have obviously Joel Embiid out. So this game could end up being super thin. This game could end up being, some creative players in there. It could end up being like a Ricky Council chalk night. It could be like a Justin Edwards chalk night. A Dame Bona.
These are real NBA players, Tim. You didn't just make up the names. These are
real NBA. These are definitely real NBA players. And they are gonna get rolled out of the gym in Denver. I can assure you of that. But they're so cheap and they might have to play big minutes. So we know that we like that in NBA DFS, regardless of, talent wise, or if we've heard of these people before or not. Like we know in NBA DFS, like if they're going to be out there, we want them in our DFS lineup. So it's going to be potentially really ugly. But the other thing I wanted to just quickly point out on the slate is this whole slate is really ugly. There's 5 games and 4 of them have double-digit spreads. So, I mean, there are going to be massive blowout concerns in all of these games outside of this Orlando-Toronto game. And quite frankly, I was surprised at how close that spread was. I thought Orlando would be a few points higher of a favorite. So, I mean, there's blowout concerns really all over the place this evening. So it's definitely going to be one of those slates where, if you're MMEing, you're definitely going to be looking to some of these bench guys, because I think there's going to be a lot of blowout run. I mean, I wish I could tell you which game it was going to be, but I mean, there is going to be some, because there's going to be a couple big time blowouts tonight.
Well, the strategy that you could take just heuristically, just as a very overall strategy, is that you have these games with like the Knicks are favored by double digits, 12 points or so. The Heat are favored by 11. The Nuggets are favored by 13. The Lakers are favored by God knows how much. 15 or so? Is that It's possible like at a 4 potential double-digit games, one of them doesn't. Like one of them actually is a competitive game and 3 blowout, right?
Yep.
And now, obviously, in blowouts, the starters could still get there. I mean, if they're blowing out the other team, that means they scored a lot of points to begin with. But of course, from a volume standpoint, they may not get their last rotation. But like if you're building a lineup, let's say you got 8 spots in your lineup, instead of taking like 1 or 2 guys from each of these teams, maybe it's better off to, I don't want to call it a game stack, but say, okay, well, if the Lakers blow out the Wizards, I'm not going to take anyone on the Lakers in this lineup, but I'm going to take Portland and I'm going to take Miami and Knicks players. Right, those games are actually going to be close, and I'm going to fade Jokic or something like that on the Nuggets. Like it's a mix across the board. You go, okay, here's the 1 or 2 games that actually are close, and I'm going to take those players. And then in another lineup, you could use the Lakers players. In another lineup, you use the Knicks players. In another lineup, and you just hope that one of the games actually is a close game or goes over their total, and you could play it that way. But talking about the Knicks game, do we care about D'Angelo Russell and Ben Simmons Q tags?
We actually do, because if they both were to sit, that would catapult Keon Johnson, I think, to running the point, and he really wouldn't have that much competition for minutes. So that would kind of make Keon Johnson a kind of a pretty interesting GPP play, I think. He's already projected for 21 fantasy points, and if you take Russell and Simmons off the court, those projected fantasy points are going to go much, much higher. So I think that does kind of matter. And then like if Simmons were to miss, I think that would help Russell, and if Russell were to miss, that would help Simmons. So I think that actually is like, you never want to like load up on these early games because we have 3 7:30 games, right? And then 2 games that start at 10 or later. So you don't necessarily want to like load up on these early games, especially with all that Philly news. But I would say that this is one spot here with Brooklyn that if Russell and Simmons were to sit, I wouldn't mind taking up one roster spot with Keon Johnson.
Do we care about Anthony Simons, whether or not he plays or
not? I think we do a little bit. I'm a little bit conflicted about what to do with Scoot Henderson. I know that he's had some monster games. I don't really like this matchup against the Heat. I'm much more interested in wasting a roster spot on one of those Nets guards if we get the right injury news, but really not particularly. Like the other situation with Portland was I was looking at the Robert Williams Q tag because we already have Klingon out, and then I was looking at the Robert Williams Q tag, and I guess we only have him projected for like 3 or like 5 minutes, so I guess that doesn't really matter. I thought that might make Ayton a little bit more of an interesting play, but still, Ayton against Bam, not particularly the matchup that I have to roster. So I'm not really as worried about this Portland news.
Okay, let's take a look at the non-injured players, the non-questionable tags. As usual, Jokic in a spot with going against the 76ers team that probably will have players that they've come off the they've just found them at the airport and just said, "Hey, you guys want to play a basketball game today?" I mean, that's obviously a good spot from a raw point standpoint. Jokic has to be the top guy, but the Lakers have a 121 implied team total also. So LeBron and AD are also viable. Obviously, AD questionable. And also, you have a lot of centers that have decent quote unquote value tonight. Mm-hmm. One of them includes Wendell Carter Jr. in a game that you did. This is the close game. This is the game that doesn't have a 10+ point spread.
Supposedly, this is the close one.
Are we much more likely to pay up for Jokic at 12K or use a guy like Wendell Carter Jr. or Jakob Poeltl in this Orlando-Toronto game instead, and then spend up in more of a power forward spot with like LeBron or Banchero or some of these other guys?
If everything were to stay as it is right now, I might be more likely to pay up for one of these Lakers guys. I'm really assuming though that we get some 76ers news that will make it so that we can easily play Jokic. Like we could probably play him pretty easily right now. But there's a
Jokic,
chance.
like you're talking about playing like a Jokic LeBron lineup.
I mean, there's a chance that Yabusele and Drummond both sit in this game, and then the 76ers will have absolutely nobody to even come close to guarding Jokic. So, I mean, he could end up doing one of those, like, he's one assist away from a triple double in the first half type games. So it's definitely one of those spots that I'm going to be eyeing closely. And now if everybody, like, if this slate were exactly as it is right now, everybody's in, no value anywhere, I might focus more on playing a LeBron or AD. But I mean, I'm thinking that there's gonna be enough value later on the day that we're gonna be playing Jokic and one of the top end Lakers.
So if we're going a little bit more balanced, are there players like kind of in the mid range? So I'm looking just like from a value perspective, like are we going to get to the spot where if there's no value, you're playing like a Caldwell Pope at 4K at shooting guard? Because I'm like looking at
Yep.
what are the weaker positions. I mean, I'm just seeing a lot of high value, high salary adjusted plus minuses like power forward, center, point guard. Not much in the small forward shooting guard kind of sense. So like I'm trying to like, is there value there? Cole Anthony, I mean 6,500 is not like value. But I'm like, who's going to be popular? Grady Dick. I mean, like, are we going to be
I
using
don't
these
think
kinds of players?
I don't think Grady Dick's gonna be popular. I do think that KCP will end up getting some ownership, kind of no matter what happens with the news. But again, he's the type of guy though that, like, like, if we don't have this 10 o'clock news, do you want to risk taking up a roster spot with KCP? Like, that's the type of player where it's kind of like a 50-50. Like, yeah, he's probably a solid points per dollar play, but you have to kind of play that game of, am I going to get news? So, if we haven't gotten the news at 7:30, do you want to lock up that shooting guard spot with KCP? Well, I think KCP has a pretty decent floor in this spot. I don't know if he's got the like the GPP winning ceiling. But
I don't think you're going to enter the 10 o'clock games if you didn't play KCP and go, I'm glad I played. I filled that spot with KCP. Right. I mean, you may get 23 fantasy points and be like, I'm fine. I mean, that's fine. But you're not sitting there going, he's sitting there with 35, 38 fantasy points going, yeah, I shouldn't have faded chalky Kentavious Caldwell Pope. It's like, to me, it's the worst of both worlds. It's like, it's a guy that you kind of fill in because he could get 20 to 25 fantasy points at 4K. Probably doesn't get 40, and then like he'll be like 28 to 32% owned. And you're like, why am I eating the chalk at a player that his range of outcomes doesn't have that many like high-end outcomes? Like, I'd much rather take a shot on a Philly player. Truthfully, I'd much rather take a shot on any player in the late games if I could get them at 3 to 5% owned. And if I get if I get one of these 76ers players and everyone's in, and the guy plays 16 minutes and scores 12 points, oh well. If KCP scores 23 at 30% owned, it's like, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because I'm not winning a GPP regardless without score. I'd much rather wait. Much rather wait for news.
And the other thing is, Orlando's starting to become fully healthy again. Like, Orlando was kind of short on bodies for a while. That's not really the case anymore. They got Bonchero back. They're going to be getting Franz Wagner back pretty soon. So, like, this Orlando team, is pretty healthy. So, it's not exactly like KCP is going to be the only one out there putting up shots. So, right now, I don't want to play KCP. Like, unless I knew that everyone for Philly was healthy, then maybe I consider it. But honestly, I don't think I want to gamble with him.
So I brought up SimLabs, and it's all 11. Remember the show. It's 11:15 in the morning. the show ends. People watch it throughout the afternoon, right? On repeat on YouTube. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Paul George is out, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, AD is out, and next thing you know, all this information really, like, it really doesn't matter, right? So I mean, we're kind of like even 8 hours before lock, this is like a first look, like let's take a look, and we know that tons of stuff change. So, but we do want to point out, like, how you should approach slates in general. Who's in, who's out, who benefits. If this guy's that, we should be taking a look at this. What late swap opportunities are there? And then taking a look at SimLabs and go, like, everything stays the way it is. Like, this is how we should be looking through SimLabs. And most likely, everything doesn't stay the way it is. But you're still going to be doing the same process. So you're still going to go to SimLabs and go, let's take a look at what these lineups look like. If I want to play certain guys in certain field contests with certain advanced, if you want to increase, like what I said before, right? About, well, maybe there's a game that doesn't blow out, right? We're kind of looking the opposite direction. So, like, maybe I want to bump up correlation, meaning that I want to play more guys from the same game rather than from different games. Now, obviously, I could just choose lineups that fit that mold, but I could also change the SimLabs rating so that it gives me more lineups and rates more lineups higher based on the correlation. So I'm gonna up this up, maybe not medium, but low, 20.2%, right? Still put the simulation up. I mean, I could keep on going with some of this. 19, I could put it up to 20, 23, 23 and a half, right?
You boost the correlation weight on smaller slates, right?
Typically, yeah. In NBA, because if one game blows out, the other game doesn't, that type of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 5 games isn't small enough where, like, I automatically do that. But in the case, I'm just highlighting that strategy of, like, well, would I rather have one or two players from 4 games where 2 of them, where it's quite likely that half the games blow out? I don't know which half it's going to be, but I just don't want to have, like, players from all the games. So, like, I'd rather have 2 or 3 players from one team rather than across the board, just from a heuristic standpoint. So that's why I'm changing the correlation weight here. We don't have projected ownership yet, even though we do have the Sims in. That'll be updated, throughout the day. So like I said, this is something that you should be doing at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right? Later when we have more information. But I mean, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Why not, show you the process and come up with lineups that if nothing changes, maybe this is what we should be looking to play. I have the small field contest being generated, medium results range. We don't need to make it so that we get, like, the 9th player off the bench type of guys for these types of fields. So I already excluded Contavious Caldwell-Pope. We're finding lineups that don't contain. Is there anyone that you're building one lineup today, Tim, and you could kind of guesstimate what the ownership is, right? What player do you want to have in your lineup? Just a personal preference. People could be like, well, I want to make sure I play LeBron. Okay, that's fine.
I'm pretty dead set no matter what on Jokic.
Okay,
so
he's gonna spend up on Jokic. It's gonna be tough now in Sims because we don't have that 76ers value really in the system yet.
Right.
So let's see. We don't play Caldwell Pope. We play Jokic, and I'm gonna just get 20 lineups and let's see what they look like. Just take seconds to build. Okay. Right. We got, not many. As of now, not many. You get some. Obviously I could put in more. I could put in 50 and it'll give me like 30 decent ones. But yeah, it means that you're playing $3,600 Cameron Payne.
Yeah, and you're playing $4,300 Max Christie too. That's another.
Right.
That's another one.
But you can take a look at it. Truthfully, you can take a look at these lineups and go, this is where I'm putting my 76ers players when the news comes in.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
Like a $4,300 Max Christie at least is in one of the later games that you could be like, well, worst case scenario, I'm just playing Max Christie. Best case scenario, I'm playing a 76er.
So Don Easy in chat, he wants us to lock in Karl Anthony Towns. So why don't we not lock in Jokic? Let's lock in Cat and see what that gets us.
Okay, these lineups may look a little bit better because he's
right.
cheaper.
He's a little bit cheaper.
Right.
It's a fantastic spot.
Right. But I also do agree with you that probably if we get 76ers news in the afternoon, Paul George is out, right? Whatever. Like, you go back to The Sims, and it'll probably show you tons of Jokic lineups.
I know.
That are going to be plus EV. I mean, you're planning for that, but SimLabs it can't just plan for it. It's just showing, but it is right.
This slate would be so much better if all this news came out after 7:30. It'd be so much better. Because if it comes before 7:30, then everyone's just going to load up on. It's going to become a very, very stale slate with everyone loading up on Philadelphia and Jokic. So hopefully it comes out after that. But I mean, Cat to me would be a really, really interesting pivot off of Jokic.
Okay, not as many. No, I mean, not as many. I mean, really? I mean, you got to play Julian Strother.
He's actually not. He's not. Strother's actually not a horrible value play today. I don't think. I'm not really on board with this Max Christie situation. I never like playing him, but I guess he's kind of like KCP. He's just one of those guys that is going to rate out decently at a reasonable price.
It seems to give you a lot of LeBron. It seems to like LeBron.
It does.
Like not Sims so much. Really, but a lot of these lineups have LeBron in them.
Right.
And I mean, let me take I'm just gonna not exclude anyone or lock anyone just to see, like, what are we avoiding? Like, what are just let's take a look at what the lineups look like just in general. Even if I mean, rated 85, right? So we're talking about Caldwell Pope, Jonas Valanciunas, right? It's prioritizing LeBron over the high price centers. You can see here right now. Wendell Carter here. Wendell Carter, Alex Sarr, Jonas Valanciunas, DeAndre Ayton. So basically, as of now, here's the Jokic lineup. So here's the first Jokic LeBron lineup. Would you play this lineup with Carlton Carrington, Caldwell Pope, Advija, Jokic, Christie, Isaac, James? Doesn't seem like a lineup you would play, Tim.
I don't love it.
But you would love it if these cheaper players were 76er players.
I would love it. I would love it more for sure. Don't know about. I'm not really convinced on Denny Atvia. I'm not really convinced on Jovic either. Because Khalil Ware. I was going to bring this up at some point. I was trying to anyway. Khalil Ware. He's been playing a ton of minutes for Highsmith, and he's kind of like the backup center too. So Khalil Ware, he's not going to be popping projections unless he somehow starts for Highsmith, but he's somebody that could snag, some bigger minutes than what we have projected for. And I would imagine he would snag some bigger minutes as well if there's a blowout in that game. So if you're making, 10, 20 teams, I would try to get to like one or two Khalil Wares for the Heat. Like he's not going to be projecting in Sims or in Optimals, but he is somebody that's been trending higher in terms of minutes. And I think there's a small chance that he actually starts today.
Mario Donuzzi says paying up at center will get you different as of now. But I mean, really, I think the main point of this show, this morning at least, is that as of now, paying up for center is going to make you different. But I mean, if that Sixers news comes in and it's it's create a player against the Nuggets, even if they do get blown out, I mean, you're still going to get like 3K, 4K guys all playing 20, 30 minutes. That someone's said two players are going to get there to some point. Like if that's the case, actually paying down at center is going to be contrarian, right? It's like once you're able to play Jokic and LeBron together in a high projected lineup, I mean, you're just going to see a lot more. And then if it's not Jokic, it's Towns, right? And if it's not
Towns, it's AD if he plays.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, Donnie's, you're right for right now, but I don't think, if we start getting a lot of players out on the slate, I think it's going to be the kind of the popular play to pay up at center.
Right. So let's take a look based on our current projections, just to show the optimal, which is the highest, mean projected lineup, 266.85, has LeBron and AD in it, right?
Right.
Even though AD is questionable, right? Because Jokic is 12K. That's why. It has Wendell Carter in here, right? Has Caldwell Pope, has Grady Dick.
Cole Anthony. It's got 4
Right.
players from that Orlando-Toronto game.
Right. Now, let's say these Philly guys, we go to Philly, right? Let's say Drummond's out, George is out, and Yabusele's out. Who would we be playing now on the Sixers?
I'm assuming Bona would get the start. So he would be somebody that we would be playing.
We play Bona at 4,100.
Probably, yep. Maxi. Well, I don't know. He's 9,900.
9,900. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just talking about from the cheap perspective.
Would we
be playing a Justin Edwards or an Eric Gordon or anything?
No, you'd be going Ricky Council and then Justin Edwards. Those would probably be the 3 cheapies that would rate out the best.
Right. So if we played all 3 of them, I just want to show what ends up happening. Right now, all of a sudden, it's very easy. Now the optimal has LeBron and Jokic in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Caldwell Pope, Grady Dick, Jamal Murray here. Now let's say you don't play, you don't play Justin Edwards or something, or Ricky Council, where you're just playing 2 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You're still getting LeBron Jokic, right? Let's say you play Justin Edwards and Bona. Right, now you're not. Now you're getting Carter James. Now you're getting a little across the board, right? You get Hero in there at 8,300. These are just mean projected lineups. And let's say you don't play Bona, you play Council and Edwards. You get a LeBron AD lineup. So it's not like auto LeBron Jokic, but it's close.
It's close.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think these Bona lineups, obviously, because Bona is center only, makes it a little less likely that you're playing Jokic because they can only fit into 2 spots into your lineup. But I just want to show that, as of now, right? As of now, it's very hard to pay up for 12K Jokic at center because we really don't have any value. But once all the value opens up, you're going, oh, Jokic is... if we ran projected ownership now, it'd be like Jokic is only going to be, 18% owned,
right?
20% owned. And it's like, Philly news comes in. Next thing you know, Jokic is 47% owned. So, you got to plan on this type of stuff. So, simply just going into SimLabs now and, making lineups and then forgetting about it for 7 hours. I mean, you can't do that in NBA DFS no matter what.
Yeah, and tonight's a bad night to not be able to pay attention. You're gonna have to be paying attention because there's gonna be that 10 o'clock news is gonna be very, very important.
The upside though is that you really only have to check your lineups twice.
That is true. There's
and then go out to dinner. You go out to dinner.
You could go out to dinner. Right. That is true.
And you don't even have to sweat the news or anything like that. Why? Because you get the RotoGrinders app on your phone. You set notifications, and the NBA urgent news and the starting lineups and stuff will just come to you. So if anything happens with the 76ers, in between, if we don't already know beforehand, you'll see it. You'll see the notifications for that, and see it on Twitter, and obviously see it on our Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Tim, we got hockey tonight, right?
We do. We have a pretty big slate, pretty decent contests too.
Once football is over, maybe the NHL contests they bump them up a little bit.
I hope so. I hope they do. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do on Tuesdays and Thursdays after football. But yeah, tonight's going to be, I would assume, a really big Nashville Predators chalk night. So it's going to be because they're facing the Sharks, Blender.
And you got to play any team that's facing the Sharks or the Blackhawks, right?
Pretty much. That's still true.
Okay, Tim. What else you got going on during the week? Any shows? You're gonna be on tonight.
You're gonna
be on whatever.
I'm not gonna be on anything tonight, but I will be in NHL Discord helping Dane. And then I'll be on Grinders Live tomorrow with Dean at 5:00, and then I will be. I think this weekend I'll be on a couple of NBA Crunch Time shows.
Okay, doke. Well, I'm programming note. I'm on vacation next week, so
is it cruise season?
Yes. We're going on a cruise for a week.
Nice.
Because it's cold. It's like 14 degrees here. I'm looking forward to some 80-degree weather. That's perfectly fine for me. So all next week, right? And also we have time between the Super Bowl anyway. So what are we doing next week anyway? So
that's right.
Nothing next week. So I'll see you in 2 Tuesdays, right? With Tuesdays with Tim. And then once football's over, maybe I see it twice a week on the show. Who knows? Who knows? So hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to always know when I go live on weekdays at 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.